What is going on, Fightful Faithful, and welcome back here to Fightful Scraps for another interview. Today, I am here with freelance photographer Ryan Loco, who does quite a bit of photography for AEW. And how are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm good. Tired. Just shocker. Got off a plane. So trying to catch my bearings and do all that good stuff, and then head over to the venue here. But otherwise, yeah, man, no complaints. I woke up today, and that's a win. So I'm happy.
Very, very positive way to start off, anyway. And speaking of starting off, I want to go back to kind of the beginning of just uh, your career of just taking photos in general. What about photography drew you in as not just as a hobby but as a career?
So I never actually planned on being a photographer. I didn't have any like desire to take photos. I wanted to do like documentary films. I wanted to do like
Yeah.
short form documentary films, fly on the wall sort of thing. And so I was doing that, and I had the camera. This was years and years ago, probably before you were born. So I had a camera. You know, nowadays they all do both. So I made my biggest purchase was buying a Canon T2i, which back in the day for me was like a huge deal. I didn't have any money. And it could do both. I could record video 1080p, which was huge back then, and take photos. So I was doing some stuff for an MMA company, shooting a lot of like UFC fighters and things like that. And so I would, on my downtime, I like messed around and took a couple photos, and they had asked me afterwards, the people who hired me, they're like, "Hey, did you get any photos of such and such?" And I was like, I think I did. And this was before everyone had a camera, and before like there was every gym has a photographer, a videographer now.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, they're like a website in Sweden needs it for news. And I was like, yeah, here you go. I was like, take them, don't pay me because I am not a photographer. I don't want to be a photographer, and they're probably not very good. So just have them. And then the next week I was in Boston, and I was shooting with the UFC fighter Kenny Florian, doing his video, and then I took some photos as well. And then I got back from the trip, and they're like, "Hey, did you get any photos while you were out there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." They're like, "Oh, a magazine needs some photos of Kenny," and I was like, "Take them." Like, I am not a photographer. I don't want to be a photographer. Take them. It's just cool for me to see it in a magazine. That's it. And then I started to realize like I had this access that it just made sense for me to sort of start to do both, And so it started to be like 25% photo, 75% video. Then it was like 50-50. Then it started to go 75-25. And then I realized that I really hate editing video for other people. Like I enjoy doing it for myself, but not for other people. And it allowed me, and I think that my previous experience in video had allowed me to like sort of frame photos as a full scene, to like really tell a story. So that kind of helped. And plus the access I had, it sort of fast tracked me as far as photo wise.
And when it came to professional wrestling and stepping into doing professional wrestling photography, was it kind of just a simple transition from mixed martial arts to pro wrestling, or was it kind of something that gradually happened?
Well, I've always loved pro wrestling ever since I was a little kid. It's the first thing it was pro wrestling and LA Rams football are the two major things I remember in my life as a child. But I remember living in San Diego. A friend of mine, James Law, we started this like mock company. So like he did photos and I did video. So we created a company, and we would go and document different things. And one of the things we documented was a small indie show in San Diego called SoCal Pro Wrestling. And so I did this full like video package for the main event. It was hair versus mask and everything like that. And so that was my first time like backstage, seeing like how everything like went down and everything like that. And it was cool. I really enjoyed the experience. And for me, like that sort of kickstarted the love for wanting to document it more and more, because with wrestling, I am getting the emotion towards like an excited face, or the angry or excitement, whatever, and it's being given to me like on purpose because they want it documented, versus something like a fight where I have to hope I'm in the right spot, or there's a celebration and they're looking the complete opposite direction. So like I am being like everything I've ever hoped to capture in a photo is basically being given to me on a platter. So it's like I'm very, very fortunate, like because I just love documenting that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And I think we're all thankful that you have been kind of just this, like, I wouldn't say phenom, but definitely up there with that kind of description of wrestling photography at the moment. Definitely, in my opinion, anyway. And so moving on from there. So before you started taking photos for AEW, was there any other regular kind of photography gigs that you do for pro wrestling before that? Like, would SoCal, did it continue on from there, or?
So I eventually moved to Florida, just doing the MMA stuff full time. And when I was there, one of the representatives from WWE actually came down to our gym, and they were looking for talent at the time. It might have been like 2013, something like that. They were just a generic, like, hey, if you got anybody that looks like super jacked, we have tryouts, tell them to come by. And I got to talking to the guy, and he was like, oh, you know your stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm a huge, huge nerd. He was like, well, we need our tryouts documented. So if you want, come up and you could like shoot our tryouts and shoot our like people that want to move on. And I was like, jumped at the chance, 100%. Like I still remember like the first check I got that had the WWE logo on it, and like just tripping out. It's like as a little kid, like I wanted to be a wrestler, and I thought that I wasn't big enough because you see people are like 6'5", 6'6", and now I walk around and I see the wrestlers, and I'm like, I could have done it. Damn, I missed out. So I started doing that every couple months. I would go shoot the tryouts at the Performance Center, the WWE. So I guess that was my first official gig in pro wrestling.
And to be honest, I wasn't even aware of that at all, to be honest. And so to kind of go into a next question, I know I haven't really talked much about AEW yet. I've mentioned them, but given the fact that you've shot for WWE and AEW, and I know it's a bit different time period, different regime and stuff with WWE and so on, but is there any significant difference there for you, or does it kind of all blend together with it all being pro wrestling?
Well, it was just a very different situation because I was at the Performance Center and it was just tryouts. It was not with actual contracted talent.
True.
Yeah, I can't compare the two because it was just so different, night and day.
Yeah. That's on me for that question. But so in that same vein, then, so over the course of your career, you've kind of documented both wrestling and MMA, and you mentioned it there, kind of just the difference between how MMA you kind of have to be in the right position, you have to get the right timing and so on and so forth, because it's at the end of the day it's a combat sport to the highest degree versus wrestling, where you can kind of predict when something's going to happen. So is that kind of the biggest difference for you, or would there be other differences that kind of from a photographer's perspective?
So lots of the time, especially like with fight stuff, or even other sports, like I'm sort of locked into one place, which doesn't sound as fun, but for me, it's actually more enjoyable because then I have one aspect that is completely taken out of the equation. Like now I just have to sit in this one spot and shoot through the cage or shoot like basketball, whatever. So that allows me to get a little bit more creative. And also in my brain, I'm like, if I miss the shot, there's nothing I can do. I'm forced to sit here. But now, shooting AEW, I'm being able to roam and go to different angles in the arenas and things like that during shows. It actually puts a little bit more like pressure on me personally, like just in my own head, because I realize that if I miss something, it's because I moved. It's my fault. Like I should have realized or paid more attention or second guessed myself and was like, should I be at this corner? No, I'm gonna go to this corner. And then of course something happens on the complete opposite side and I miss it. Luckily we have a team, a photographer, so we're all covered. So that's the, one saving grace is I know one of the guys on the team is going to capture something, so it's not like the moment's completely lost.
Yeah. And with the AEW gig and all that, you have been traveling the world, not just with AEW, but with AEW stars, with, for example, John Moxley and so on for Bloodsport. and with that, Japan, you were in London, like, and I asked this because when you were in London, you were posting not just wrestling pictures, photos of the city, and that's something that you do tend to do from time to time. And I'm just wondering for you, what has been not your favorite wrestling venue, but your favorite city that you've been able to photograph while you've been around?
Well, being able to go to Tokyo was really, really special.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd always wanted to go to Japan. It was a very short trip, but I tried to make the most of it. Of course, it rained for most of the time. That's just my luck. Tokyo is definitely up there. I mean, London's cool. I'm upset because went to Cardiff and I was not even in Cardiff for one day. I literally drove there, shot the show, and drove right back. And I would have loved to because what I saw on the freeway, it just looked absolutely amazing. And I have friends from Wales and they talk about how beautiful it was. But I will say the Cardiff fans were unreal. That venue was crazy. Those fans are insane. But yeah, definitely Tokyo, I think would be up there. I love like Toronto's a fun city. We were in Quebec City. That was really cool. I mean, I try to find it, and I realize how blessed I am and how lucky I am. And so I really try to find like something in every city I go to. Because you know what I mean? Like there's people that people have to work for a living.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that I don't ever have to work. Because my body would freeze up and I would disintegrate.
And just mentioning the AEW gig, you mentioned how your practically your first full-time photography gig was with WWE with the Performance Center. How did it change for you when you started working full-time with AEW, photographing their events, and how did that come about?
Well, just, I'd known multiple people, mutual friends and things like that. And Mox and Renee and other people. And I had known Speedy, who does all our studio work on when. So we have like a split team because, we have two television shows. So Speedy does most of the studio work for Wednesdays and pay-per-views, but every one of us can jump in and out. So we're all just like, we help each other out. That's the beautiful thing. So I'd known Speedy for a while as well, because I'd happened to shoot an indie show up in Gainesville called Fest Wrestling. Fest. And we met there. And so I just reached out because they came to Fort Lauderdale near where I live. And I was like, hey man, if you need someone like an extra hand, it just gives me something to do because I get bored. Like if I'm not traveling for work, I'm sitting on my couch and that's it. Because I don't like to go out. I don't like to leave. I don't want to leave my house. I don't like to do anything. I don't like people.
Introvert.
Yeah. So I just reached out and he's like, yeah, come on down. So, messed about and shot the show and, saw some people I knew and everything went really, really well, I thought. And then they happened to mention like, we, possibly have a new show coming. Or a new event on Saturdays called Collision. We're going to need more people. Mm-hmm. If you're available, let's do it. And so I was like, absolutely. I gave me a chance to work with friends and mess about and travel the world. So sign me up. And it just was right place, right time. The timing just happened to work out.
Absolutely. And over the course of that time, since you've started working with AEW, you have took some absolutely incredible shots, as I've said. But I'm not going to ask you to narrow it down to one because I feel like that would be incredibly obnoxious. But is there some that do stand out to you where, like, if someone were to say to you, "What are your best shots?" These are some that you would spring to mind.
Well, there was
There
was one that just happened. Hangman, don't know if you've heard of him. Hangman Adam Page, he and Swerve, don't know if you heard of this. They don't like each other. And there was an incident the other day, and somehow accidentally a house caught on fire. Mm-hmm. Awful. So I took photos of that, and that was really, really cool. That was a very unique experience because I have never been there when someone burned down a house, So Hangman just called and said, come by. We're doing something fun. And I didn't ask any questions. I want to apologize to Swerve, who was my friend. I did not know that was going to happen. I never would have went if I did. There's the Darby fall during Revolution when he hit the glass from the ladder. That was pretty wild. got lucky on that one. I was running around the arena for that one. There's also one where, and the photos are whatever, like, but it was just the moment. There's a moment where Sting, like Darby, I forget, it might have been a Dynamite. I apologize. I don't remember what city I was in last week, so I apologize. But there was a moment where Darby was climbing the ladder and he was going to do a dive, and Sting climbs up, and not a joke. I thought Sting was literally climbing up to tell Darby, like, don't do it. Don't risk your health. This is silly. And then I watch, and Sting turns around and dives off the ladder from the ring onto a table. And so just to be there for that moment, to tell, like, I wish I could go back in time and tell little me, like, hey, you're going to photograph Sting. Like, you're going to be hanging out with Sting. You know, that's just mind blowing to me. But yeah, I mean, if you show me a photo, I can remember everything about it. But otherwise, I don't really remember too many things. It's just, I get so lucky because work with some incredible athletes and have such an amazing team of makeup and effects and lighting and everything, a ring crew, everything that just comes together to give me just a perfect photo. Like, it's up to me just to take. I can't screw it up as long as I click the button and take the photo because of all the hard work that everyone else has done. Like, it's really, like I said, it's put on a platter for me. I am spoiled. Our entire photo team, we are spoiled by all the hard work of all the people you don't see and you don't get to hear about, because it's crazy. And I'm so blessed to get to work with, like, I literally am going to the venue today. I'm not even working. I'm just going because I want to hang out and say what up to these people. Like, I love it.
And you mentioned it there, the Hangman photos and the Derby photos. Like, when these photos when they get uploaded to the social media, or where you do it or AEW does it, they spread like wildfire. And you see, yeah. And then you see people will just, so much praise, especially for the Hangman photos. Like, my feed was just, the minute those photos came out, it was just, this is one of the coldest pictures in wrestling history, so on and so forth. When you see all that praise, does it resonate highly with you, with the wrestling community? Because even people who aren't necessarily fans of AEW will turn around and be like, oh, I'm not a fan of AEW, but this shot is awesome.
Yeah, it's one, like I said, it's one of those weird things where, like, on one hand, it's really cool, and I appreciate people like, oh, this photo is amazing, and but at the same time, like, I realize how much went into making that photo, and knowing, like, again, I just hit the button. Like, Hangman's the one that lit this house on fire, and if it was, and Swerve hadn't bought the house, I wouldn't even have been there. You know what I mean? So it's like, so many things go into this that, like, it's hard for me to be like, well, yeah, I did that. Like, no, Darby is the one that jumped off a ladder.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I just happen to be there while he does it. So I do appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. And I am grateful for everyone that says kind things, and even the ones that don't say very kind things, because I love hearing how much my friends suck. Thank you for quoting and retweeting and telling people how much my friends suck. It's great. But yeah, no. It's like I said, I'm very humbled, and I'm very lucky and blessed to do what I do, even if it means sitting in a hotel room, not knowing what city I'm in.
Absolutely. And before I do let you go, Ryan, I just, while we're talking about your friends and so on, All Out this weekend, obviously.
Yes.
Have to have a quick minute to talk about this.
Yes.
Do you have any?
That's why I woke up at 4:45 a.m. this morning, so we better talk about it.
Is there any wild predictions for, like, anything you're worried you might have to take a photo of over the weekend?
I have no clue what's going to happen in this cage match. And on one hand, I'm so excited for what is going to happen. And then on the other hand, I'm sort of nervous about what's going to happen. And I think that's what makes it fun. You know, like, I like to go in and just be like, what are we going to do tonight? You know, what's going to happen? Like, let's just make some magic. And I feel like, you know, that's what we do best. Like, we create these beautiful moments, and hopefully everyone digs them. Like, because I promise you, all of us love to be there. We love to be a small part of this full machine that is giving you these moments. And I just feel very blessed. I feel very blessed to work with all these people and know that the reason that I woke up at 4:45 is going to be worth it. One, I got to talk to you.
Yeah.
Two, I'm gonna go raid catering.
Yeah.
And then
That's the important part.
3, I get to be a fan and just sit back and watch a crazy collision tonight, which is going to be awesome. And then tomorrow, I get to roam around the floor during an absolute bonkers pay-per-view. Last year's All Out was insane, so I'm looking forward to this year's All Out doing the same.
And can I convince you to make a prediction for the Lights Out cage match?
Oh, man.
And now, see, I'm asking you this question, but I couldn't make this decision myself, so I'm kind of being a bit awkward.
Yeah. I mean, you have two men that like know everything about each other and have faced each other many times, and now like maybe some weaknesses have been shown and things for other people to capitalize on. I mean, Swerve, I've known Swerve for a long time. Swerve's my homie. I was taking photos of Swerve in my garage, like 2019, something like that. That's my dog. I love Swerve. However, I just saw Hangman burn a house down. And I don't really want to talk bad about that man. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say that it is just going to be a fantastic main event. I look forward to getting on Twitter right afterwards and seeing that was incredible. Can't wait for the next one, and how much like they suck or something. Yeah, because it can't all be good. Heaven forbid we all are just nice to each other.
Yeah, never going to happen in this community, unfortunately, as much as we all want to. And Ryan, just thank you so much for sitting down with me for this interview. Like I've said before, guys, if you haven't seen Ryan's shots, if you didn't know, just go to his Twitter page at Ryan Loco, I believe it is, isn't it?
At Ryan Loco, same thing on Instagram, same thing on Threads, RyanLoco.com.
Guys, if you're new to Fightful Scraps, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. Like I said before, make sure to go follow Ryan. And just tell him how awesome his shots are. Don't tell him how bad they are, though, because
it's all right. I can take it. I'm tough. I'm actually really tough. Don't let this like soft exterior fool you. I can handle it.
Okay,
I got a Puerto Rican grandmother. I can handle it.
There you go. Thanks, Ryan, for an awesome interview. And thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.